My role models growing up were my family. I have a wonderful, my mum was just this fantastic figure, my aunt equally wonderful, and I had a big sister I still look up to this day. She reminds me of that most days. And my gran, who was just this incredible sort of driving inspirational force in my life. And it's only as you get older you look back and acknowledge it, but I grew up just feeling that actually anything was possible. And it was really up to me to find out what my passion was. And actually, I remember having chats with my mum and dad about what I wanted to do when I grew up, and sort of saying, I don't know what I want to do, but I don't want my life to be boring. And that's all I could define it as. I just didn't want a boring life. And my poor mum and dad sat me down time after time to try and get out of me what I meant by that. And they're both teachers, and they sort of sat and went, do you think our life is boring? I remember thinking I wanted to make a difference. I wanted something in life that would have an impact. And I went to do law at Edinburgh. And when I was there, I fell into rowing completely by accident. And I remember my first year kind of being okay at it, but being a novice, you don't know how bad you are, and that's a lovely time. And then in my second year, thinking, actually, this is what I want to do. I really want to give my life to this. This is going to be great. And I think I've nailed it now. You get that little bit of confidence. And I went to a meeting where they selected the top 16 rowers for the university to represent the university. And I was so bad, I didn't make it into fours. And they put together a fifth four and called it the remedial four. It's not the funny part of the story, people. I can sort of laugh now. I left my degree, thankfully. And 3 years after leaving Edinburgh, I went to my first Olympic Games in Sydney. And to explain the position of women in rowing, back in 2000, we had never won an Olympic medal of any colour in rowing for the British women rowing team. And other people expect that of you, and that performance level, that's sort of where you perform. Whether or not you mean to, you kind of go where the expectations are. We had this fantastic meeting the night before our final in Sydney. 4 of us gathered with our coach. And what we were very, very good at was logistics and detailed planning. And sport, as it gets elite level, it's all about the details and the logistics and leaving no stone unturned, and everything is measured and timed and judged, and you know exactly how your Olympic final day will pan out. What we hadn't really talked about was the emotional side and what the race actually meant. And we had the most emotional and honest meeting I've probably ever had, with everyone being incredibly honest about why that race was important and what their motivation was and what they were willing to do and what we were willing to do for each other. It suddenly meant we were going to do something much more special than just a race. We were doing something for each other, and it would actually make a huge difference. And we got into the race the next morning, and for about 15 or 1600 metres of a 2,000 metre race, we were so disciplined, and we absolutely unfolded the race plan exactly as we wanted to. And then the last sort of 300-400 metres, we just entered into 4 women screaming at each other. And we kind of burst across the line in a flurry of noise and energy. It went to a photo finish, and in the photo finish we were given the silver by 0.08 of a second, which is about this much in boat terms. And it was like winning twice. It was an unbelievable, incredible thing. The first thing was the awareness was transformed. I went to a reception shortly after Sydney, big formal do, and I met this guy there who kind of went, oh wow, you're one of the 4 women who won. That's wonderful, congratulations. We didn't know women rowed. So that was a change. It's only 13 years ago. And then the other thing was the sense of belief it brought in the whole team. So rather than the rest of the team thinking, God, those 4 girls did brilliantly, amazing result, which would have been great, they all just went, do you know what, if they can do it, why can't we? Because we train the same way, we know how to do it now. They've made the breakthrough. So we took a much smaller group. We took 8 people, 3 different boat classes, to Athens 4 years on. Every single woman came back with an Olympic medal. By Beijing, it was all about the gold, and we had a brilliant campaign leading up to Beijing. And in Beijing, we came across a Chinese crew that we hadn't met before, and they were racing in front of their home crowd at their home Olympics. And the last 200 metres, we were rowed through by the Chinese and beaten by a second. And it was utterly devastating. And we kind of felt we'd had this moment. We could have changed everything, and we let it slip through our fingers. And it fed back into every doubt and insecurity that had ever been there. Then I had to make the big decision whether or not to continue, to go on to London. And in that time, a lot of people were brilliant support, and I know we're talking about women in leadership roles, and in management roles particularly. But there's also something that you don't need to have that in your title to lead or to manage. And I think it's about behaviour, and it's about having moral courage and having a very clear goal and knowing where you're going with it, and believing it with a passion. And I think that's when you start to become a leader, and that's when you show what can be done, and that's when people will follow. I was in this great partnership with Anna Watkins and our double, and we'd been unbeaten for 3 years leading up to London, and we were absolutely favourites for the gold. We broke the Olympic record in the heat. It was all going brilliantly. We still had the night before, 2 nights before our final, we sat down and we still went through every single thing that could have gone wrong in our race. The biggest thing is you don't want to be in the heat of the battle and have to start to think of answers. If you can answer them before, you're way ahead. And actually, for us, it's all about how we do it. It's all about the process, all about the job itself rather than the result. The result comes because of the job. So for us, it was that 2,000 metres. And we crossed the line, and there was 30,000 people in Dorney. It's absolutely deafening wall of sound, unbelievable roar that we heard. And once you cross the line, you know absolutely instantly what you've just done. I looked up and saw the flags and the crowds and all the incredible euphoria. And you realise it, and it all floods in a second. And it was, 16 years of training to get to that point, the point when I started off and I thought I was good and I wasn't. And, the ups and downs and the challenges and the injuries and the failures and the disappointments and the Beijing and all that. And you actually realise all those challenges are what gets you the gold. And I was asked by someone, obviously didn't know me that well, was it worth it? Was it worth it? And you go, well, in a heartbeat, if I could do it all again, they gave me this at the end of it. And it is, for an athlete, it's a symbol of everything you've done and everyone you've been with and everything that's got you there. In London, there were 3 women's boats in rowing that got gold medals. So we didn't just sort of make history, we smashed it. And the lovely thing is there's people now coming to the sport who only know that, who only know women as successful and only know rowing women as successful, and that's what they're aiming for now, and that has transformed things. And it's, I guess, the only thing I'd say is there's always more to be done, but it's always worth stopping and thinking how far we've come as well, and what a great place we are in compared to where it's been before. But a little bit like sport, to never settle, to never be complacent, never think it's good enough. There's huge change need to happen, but it'll only happen by the people who want it to happen. When I started off, there's no way people assumed there'd be multiple Olympic gold medalists for women's rowing, but it's about the people who are there every day doing it, who wanted to believe in the change and were willing to make it happen and put in the hard work, who saw that change coming. So, yeah, we're in a great place. There's a lot more to come, but we've come a long way. And I guess all I can say is I hope you all achieve your own gold medals. Thank you.